Today, although our hearts are aching, we need to look up where he is undoubtedly perched in a crescent moon, and we need to smile.
The world stopped when news broke that Michael Jackson had died, and celebrities were among the first to react in disbelief. From shock and heartbreak to stunned silence, their immediate reactions revealed just how deeply the king of pop had impacted an entire generation.
It just cannot set into my psyche, into my mind. He was in good shape, as far as I know. He was practicing, rehearsing, singing, dancing for the big comeback in England. I cannot believe that this is true. That's how I feel right now.
And while fans and celebrities around the world were still struggling to process the news, for Uri Geller, Michael Jackson's death was deeply personal. Geller, a longtime friend of Jackson who had once chosen him as the best man for his wedding vow renewal, said he was devastated and initially struggled to believe that Michael was really gone. He was especially shocked because, in his view, Jackson had been preparing and rehearsing for his planned London comeback shows and appeared to be in good shape.
I still cannot believe it. I'm trying to contact his family to find out. Michael, yes, indeed, was a friend, but as everyone knows, I had ups and downs with him, and he was my best man when I renewed my wedding vows. I even designed his latest CD. I just cannot believe that Michael is gone.
According to Geller, there were moments when Michael was so heavily affected by medication that he struggled to wake him. He even said he confiscated injection equipment and stayed near Jackson's bedroom because he was afraid something could happen to him. Importantly, Geller clarified that he never personally saw Michael take substances. He said he witnessed what he believed was the aftermath.
No way, Michael did not want to die. Michael loved life. Michael loved his children. His children were everything. Michael loved his fans. A lot of people, didn't care about Michael. They didn't care about his music. They didn't care about the man. They cared about his money. A lot of people, or some people around him, were yes people. Nobody could say no to Michael Jackson.
What frustrated Geller most was that he felt very few people around Michael were willing to tell him no. He believed Jackson needed someone close to him who would put his health before his career, money, or the demands of the people around him. And looking back after Jackson's death, Geller's warnings became one of the most haunting accounts from someone who had personally tried to intervene.
Michael Jackson, and we spoke about this. We spoke about life after death. We spoke about afterlife here in this room. He believed in Einstein's theories of energy, that energy cannot be destroyed, energy lives forever, everything is energy. There is no doubt in my mind that Michael Jackson's energy, spirit, soul, is up there together with Elvis, with Sinatra, with Lennon. He's looking down at us and he's smiling. I know he's out there somewhere and his star is shining.
Madonna was among the celebrities who were deeply shaken by Michael Jackson's sudden death. She had known him personally and admired him as both an artist and a friend, making the news especially painful for her.
There is no question that Michael Jackson was one of the greatest talents the world has ever known. That when he sang a song at the ripe old age of 8, he could make you feel like an experienced adult was squeezing your heart with his words. That the way he moved had the elegance of Fred Astaire and packed the punch of Muhammad Ali. That his music had an extra layer of inexplicable magic that didn't just make you want to dance, but actually made you believe that you could fly, dare to dream, be anything that you wanted to be. Because that is what heroes do, and Michael Jackson was a hero.
She later opened up about their relationship, remembering the vulnerable side of Michael that existed behind the superstar image. Madonna also reflected on how the world had judged him, admitting that she felt they had abandoned him when he needed people around him most. Her grief became even more visible when she paid tribute to Jackson on stage, performing his music and honoring his legacy just days after his death.
I can't say we were great friends, but in 1991 I decided I wanted to try and get to know him better. I asked him out to dinner. I said, "My treat, I'll drive, just you and me." He agreed and showed up to my house without any bodyguards. We drove to the restaurant in my car. It was dark out, but he was still wearing sunglasses. I said, Michael, I feel like I'm talking to a limousine. Do you think you could take off those glasses so I can see your eyes? He paused for a moment. Then he tossed the glasses out the window, looked at me with a wink and a smile and said, can you see me now? Is that better? In that moment, I could see both his vulnerability and his charm. The rest of the dinner, I was hell-bent on getting him to eat French fries, drink wine, have dessert, and say bad words. Things he never seemed to allow himself to do. Later, we went back to my house to watch a movie, and we sat on the couch like two kids. And somewhere in the middle of the film, his hand snuck over and held mine. It felt like he was looking for a friend more than a romance, and I was happy to oblige him. And in that moment, he didn't feel like a superstar. He felt like a human being.
For Madonna, Michael wasn't simply the king of pop. He was someone she believed the world had failed to understand. And as more celebrities began reacting to his death, their stories revealed just how deeply Jackson's life had affected those who knew him.
I felt his pain. I know what it's like to walk down the street and feel like the whole world is turned against you. I know what it's like to feel helpless and unable to defend yourself because the roar of the lynch mob is so loud that you are convinced your voice can never be heard. But I had a childhood, and I was allowed to make mistakes and find my own way in the world without the glare of the spotlight. While he was trying to build a family and rebuild his career, we were all busy passing judgment. Most of us had turned our backs on him. In a desperate attempt to hold on to his memory, I went on the internet to watch old clips of him dancing and singing on TV and on stage. And I thought, my God, he was so unique, so original, so rare, and there will never be anyone like him again. He was a king.
Prince's reaction to Michael Jackson's death was strikingly restrained, especially given their complicated history. For months, he largely stayed silent, choosing not to publicly dwell on the loss. Insiders revealed that Prince acknowledged the deep bond between him and Michael, saying it was always sad to lose someone you loved.
When Michael dies, Prince was in rehearsal for headlining the Montreux Jazz Festival in Switzerland. When news comes that Michael has died, he immediately canceled rehearsal, sent all of his band members home, and locked himself in his bedroom for days and wouldn't come out. When he finally emerges, they do a couple more rehearsals. He calls me to say, you know, what you're doing this summer. We talk. He's on headline in Montreux. You want to come? I said, sure. I pack up my bags. I go to Montreux. I go to Switzerland with Prince. He kills the show in Montreux. And about 1:30 in the morning, we stop by a little after party. We stay there for about a half hour or so. About 2 o'clock in the morning, we're back to his hotel. He's staying in the presidential suite. Of course, where else would Prince stay? Presidential suite, top floor of this hotel. It's sway that has French doors, I'll never forget it, that open out to the rooftop of the hotel. We walk out there about 2-something in the morning, and we sat on the rooftop of that hotel looking at the Swiss Alps until the sun came up, and all Prince talked about for hours was Michael Jackson. And it was so surreal because in this moment where these two guys had been so linked in history, you know, back in the day, either you were Prince or you were Michael. Exactly. But to sit there and just, I mean, I don't know if I said 10 words that night, but Prince just had to get it out of his system. And he sat and he talked and he talked. And in that moment, again, it was so surreal to hear him talking for hours about his respect for Michael's genius.
What made his reaction even more meaningful was what Prince said about Michael's career. He credited Jackson with inspiring him to push beyond what he had already accomplished, particularly after Michael planned his massive London comeback. Prince had performed Jackson 5 songs during his own shows, showing that beneath their rivalry and differences, there was genuine artistic respect. So while Prince didn't give the kind of emotional public tribute many expected, his few words revealed something much deeper. Behind the competition, teasing, and complicated relationship, he had genuine love and respect for Michael Jackson.
For Michael's gift, for Michael's showmanship. And I would never forget, as long as I live, just sitting there and just listening. And it was just like one of those moments where I said, you know what, I want to hold on to this. I want to hold on to this. And I just sat and just took it all in. But to hear him express his appreciation for what Michael meant. And again, I think when you've been linked that way with somebody musically and historically, you start to think about your own mortality. You start to think about the dance that you will have to do eventually with your own mortality. And to be a witness to that conversation was just a moment I won't ever forget.
Reverend Al Sharpton reflected on Michael Jackson's life with a message that went far beyond the headlines and controversy surrounding the superstar. Having known Jackson for years, Sharpton remembered him as a disciplined, committed artist who gave everything to his craft. He argued that Michael's impact reached far beyond music. He believed Jackson helped break racial and cultural barriers, bringing audiences of different backgrounds together through his music and performances. At Jackson's memorial, he emphasized how the singer repeatedly overcame criticism and setbacks to reach the top. But Sharpton also acknowledged the painful side of Jackson's story. He said Michael had been hurt and betrayed by people he trusted, and that the pressure surrounding his life often overshadowed his accomplishments. For Sharpton, Michael Jackson's legacy ultimately wasn't about the controversy. It was about the barriers he broke, the people he inspired, and the cultural impact that made him unlike any entertainer before him.
How many people had let him down, but I told him it didn't matter. He had never let the fans down. I remember introducing him at James Brown's funeral. James Brown was like a father to me and was Michael's idol. And I'll never forget him calling me, saying he wanted to view James's body in the middle of the night. And I arranged for him to go to the funeral home in Augusta, view his body, and convinced him to stay. And he spoke at the last funeral of James Brown, his idol, that we often talked about. In fact, my favorite picture I kept was way before the Victory Tour with Michael, James Brown, Janet, and I. We all were much younger then, in California, about 1980. And we went back about 35 years. We've marched together. We fought together. I watched him do shows. I headed community affairs for his Victory Tour. I watched him sell stadiums out. Michael Jackson made culture accept a person of color. Way before Tiger Woods, way before Oprah Winfrey, way before Barack Obama. Michael did with music what they later did in sports and in politics and in television. And no controversy will erase the historic impact. He learned how to sing and dance past unfair criticism.
The night after Michael Jackson's death, his longtime friend Deepak Chopra spoke with Keith Olbermann about the shocking loss and revealed just how unexpected it was. Chopra said Michael had actually contacted him only 2 days earlier, leaving a message in an upbeat and excited mood about a new song he was working on.
In the last few weeks, he sounded really good. He was very excited about the concert. He was especially excited about a particular song that he was wanting to write. He had created the music. He had sent the music to me. We were discussing the lyrics of the music. So he was in a good mood. He was in a really good mood. I said, Michael, you're coming back. He said, for sure, this time I'm coming back.
Chopra remembered Michael as someone he had known for more than 2 decades, describing him as a deeply vulnerable person who lived under an extraordinary level of fame and pressure. What made the news even harder to comprehend was that, in their final communication, Michael did not sound like someone expecting his life to end. That final phone message would become a haunting reminder of just how suddenly everything changed. Michael had been thinking about new music and his upcoming comeback, while those closest to him were left trying to understand how the king of pop could be gone so unexpectedly.
What do you make then, especially in the context of his hopefulness at the end, of these reports of possible abuse of prescription drugs and people trying to intervene to stop this, and a live-in doctor, which you probably heard the LA Times reporter say had been brought in by the promoter of this concert?
Well, you know, in 2005, Michael came to spend a week with me in San Diego after his trial was over, and he asked me for a prescription for narcotics, for OxyContin actually, and I was quite shocked. And then I started to quiz him a little bit, and it became obvious to me that he was taking these substances and they were being prescribed by various physicians. When I started to really probe, he became very defensive, and he started to deny that he had a problem. He said he was in a lot of pain. I know that Michael has been in a lot of psychological and emotional pain over the years. So I said to him there were ways to deal with that pain, and he started to avoid me for a while. And this happened intermittently through the years.
When Jamie Foxx was asked whether he believed Michael Jackson had been murdered, his reaction was strikingly quiet. Rather than fueling speculation, Foxx had previously urged people to focus on Jackson's talent and legacy instead of the controversy surrounding his death. That silence, however, has made the moment intriguing for fans who continue to question what really happened in Michael's final hours. At the time, Jackson's death was surrounded by intense uncertainty and unanswered questions, even though the official investigation ultimately determined that he died from acute propofol intoxication and his doctor, Conrad Murray, was convicted of involuntary manslaughter. So when Foxx was confronted with the question, his lack of an immediate answer became a moment that left people wondering what he really thought about the circumstances surrounding the King of Pop's death.
You think Michael Jackson was murdered?
Limos are pretty cool. It's like 1990 back again, right? Love that Gucci shirt, sir.
Take care, Jamie.
As Michael Jackson's family struggled to cope with the devastating loss, Reverend Jesse Jackson urged people to remember the King of Pop with dignity rather than allowing speculation about drugs to overshadow his life. A close friend of the Jackson family, Jesse said there were unanswered questions surrounding Michael's final hours, but he also wanted the focus to remain on the person and artist the world had lost. At the time, reports about prescription drug use were rapidly becoming a major part of the story. Jesse acknowledged that the family had serious questions about what happened and wanted answers, particularly regarding Michael's doctor and the medications he may have received. But amid all the speculation, his message was ultimately about allowing Michael to rest in peace and remembering his extraordinary contribution to music and culture.
Well, it was lots of pain. I called Ms. Kaplan time it happened, and Joe, and determined to leave yesterday and got out there immediately, and she's still fighting through her tears. She said, I lost my baby. Michael was a good boy. I loved him so much. No matter what they said about him, he did his work well, and Michael was a good boy. And that we sat in the stillness of that room as she reflected on her life with her son and his challenges as he grew and became more global. And I must say, with our sharing of grief, I said to her, Sister Cotton, you've had him for a long time, 50 years. Enough is never enough, but Mrs. King lost her son at 39, and Mary lost her son, Jesus, at 33. And Mrs. Teal lost her son at 14. And so you have to take the dose God has given you. And we talk through issues of faith.
Ne-Yo was among the artists deeply shaken by Michael Jackson's sudden death. Speaking on the night Jackson died, Ne-Yo revealed that Michael had recently reached out to him about working on his comeback album, music they would sadly never get to create together. For Ne-Yo, the loss was especially personal because Michael had been one of the biggest influences on his decision to pursue music. He remembered studying Jackson's voice and technique as a young singer, crediting him with helping him become more comfortable with his own sound. Ne-Yo's tribute became even more emotional just days later when he performed Jackson 5's I'll Be There alongside Jamie Foxx at the BET Awards. Years later, Ne-Yo continued to describe Jackson's death as deeply difficult, saying he was grateful simply to have met his idol and experienced the chance to work with him before his passing.
When I first heard that Michael Jackson had passed, I can say with no shame whatsoever that I cried like a member of my family had died. And the thing is, I didn't get to know Mr. Jackson personally. I met him one time, and we sat for a couple hours and talked about music, and it was right around the time when he was talking about putting out another album. And we talked about, me working on the album, talked about what he wanted from me, what he wanted from music, how I felt about music, period. And it was just a really cool, genuine, and great conversation. I feel like entertainment is better because he was here. I feel like music is better because he was here. And now that he's not here, you can definitely feel it.
Months before Michael Jackson's death, Ne-Yo had the extraordinary opportunity to work directly with the King of Pop on music for his planned comeback album. What began as a dream collaboration quickly became a learning experience, with Jackson personally discussing the songs and giving Ne-Yo feedback on his work. Ne-Yo later recalled how difficult it was to put aside the thought that he was writing for Michael Jackson and simply focus on making great music. The two worked on several songs, with plans to record them after Jackson completed his This Is It concerts in London. Sadly, Jackson died before those recordings could happen. For Ne-Yo, the experience was more than just a collaboration. It was a chance to learn directly from the artist who had inspired him since childhood. And because their planned work was left unfinished, those sessions became one of the final musical chapters of Michael Jackson's life.
But he was like, he basically said, I would love to get in the studio and work with you. And I'm like, I'm literally not inside my body right now. Like, what? You want to work with me? all right, cool. Let's set it up. Let's get it together. You know, so his people, call my people, whatever. He said he wanted to meet. I want to meet with you, and I want to talk to you about the kind of music I want to produce.
Usher was devastated by Michael Jackson's sudden death, calling the loss deeply painful and saying he would not be the artist, performer, or philanthropist he was without Michael's influence. He also revealed that they had been considering working together shortly before Jackson died, with Michael in very good spirits during their last conversation.
You can't say that you were an artist in this century and was not influenced by Michael. You know, I consider myself very fortunate to have had the opportunity to share the stage with him, to know him personally, and you know, I am always gonna remember, and I'll be a fan for life. This is a tragedy, to say the least, and has affected all of us. My heart goes out to his family. My heart goes out to his fans. Most importantly, my heart goes out to his mother and also his children. But it's definitely a hard one.
Oprah Winfrey reflected on the moment she learned that the King of Pop had died and described the feeling as deeply shocking and heartbreaking.
You were actually on a cruise when Michael Jackson
Yes.
passed away. Who broke the news to you?
Gail King, Eyewitness News. Gail King, I call her Gail King Eyewitness News, who's, even though we're on a cruise, is watching all the newses and reading all the newspapers. And she said, something's happened to Michael. I don't think it's good. And it scared me because in 1998, I think that was the year, I was in another hotel room. Gail was in, and Gail called and said, something's happened to Princess Diana. I don't think it's good. So when I heard that, immediately I thought, oh my God, could it be? And so we were all stunned.
Make sure to check out our other videos on the screen.